Think of the last time you said, "Sure, no problem," when the honest answer was closer to, "Actually, this isn't okay with me." Most of us do this so often, we don't even notice it anymore. Here is what's strange. That small, almost invisible moment isn't just social. It sets off a real chemical chain reaction in our body, the same one that fires when you're facing an actual threat. Today we are tracing that chain from the moment you swallow a "yes, you didn't mean" all the way down to your bloodstream. Physician Gabor Maté has spent much of his career studying this pattern, and his argument starts in childhood. As kids, we depend completely on the adults around us for safety, food, love, a sense of belonging. If expressing a real feeling ever seemed to risk that connection, most children will quietly choose attachment over authenticity. Not because anyone taught them to. It's closer to instinct. Staying connected feels more urgent than staying honest. That's a reasonable strategy for a child who can't survive alone. The problem is that many of us keep running the same strategy well into adulthood, long after the actual danger of losing connection has disappeared. Here is where it gets physical. Your body has a specific system built to respond to threat, called the HPA axis: hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal glands. When your brain registers something as a threat, a lion, a deadline, or a boundary you didn't voice, the hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland, the pituitary signals the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands release cortisol into your bloodstream. This system is supposed to be short-lived. Threat appears, cortisol rises, you deal with it, cortisol falls, everything resets. The trouble starts when the threat is a boundary you cross every day without saying anything. The system never really gets the signal to reset. It just stays quietly and chronically switched on. This isn't a vague idea. It's been measured directly. In a well-known line of research, psychologist Janice Kiecolt-Glaser and colleagues gave people small, identical wounds and tracked how fast they healed. People under chronic stress, in one study, caregivers looking after a spouse with dementia healed measurably slower than people who weren't, with clear differences in the immune makers responsible for repairing tissue. That's the HPA axis showing its cost in real time. Chronically elevated cortisol suppresses part of the immune system that would otherwise be doing repair work. And the wound healing effect is just one visible example of a broader pattern. Chronically elevated cortisol carries other real, measurable costs too. Elevated blood pressure, disrupted blood sugar regulation, a weakened immune response overall. In people who already have an autoimmune condition, stress is also a well-documented trigger for flare-ups. Not a cause of the condition itself, but a real factor in how it behaves day to day. Worth being careful here, because this idea gets misused sometimes. None of this means people cause their own health problems, and it's not a reason to blame yourself for a coping style you likely built as a child, often for very good reason. It's simply a mechanism, a real physical pathway connecting an everyday, easy-to-miss habit to something your body actually has to process. The practical shift Maté points toward is small but not easy. Catching the moment right before an automatic yes and asking even briefly, is this actually true for me? Not to become difficult or self-centered, just to close the gap between what you're feeling and what you're saying, one small moment at a time. This is where it connects directly back to letting go. Suppressing a boundary and suppressing an emotion are really the same motion, aimed at different targets. and both keep that same HPA axis quietly switched on, long after it should have reset. So here is a small experiment for the week. Notice just one moment when you're about to say yes automatically, and pause, even for a second, before you answer. You don't have to change your answer. Just notice the gap between the automatic response and what's actually true for you. Next time, we are looking at why simply talking about a hard experience doesn't always resolve it, and what psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk's research suggests is happening in the body when the gap shows up. If you want to actually practice this, not just hear about it, I'm building something around these exact principles. Here's a link in the description if you are curious.